Well, hello everyone. Good Thursday to you. Welcome to episode 2 of Bowling with the Fef, a platform to share your unique bowling story and ask and answer questions, discuss bowling happenings and issues, all live here on the YouTube channel. And remember to be the first to know when we start our live stream, when we post new videos. Feel free to hit that subscribe button, touch up the notification bell next to it. We also have a private Facebook group. If you're interested in getting into that, haven't gotten into it yet, let me know. You can email me at bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com. And if you'd like to get on the show, remember, you can apply. It's as easy as filling out the application at bit.ly/bowlingwiththefef, which is on your screen right now. Fill out an application, send it my way, and you could be a guest on this program. Let's get into the first frame. Boy, it's been an exciting few days for bowlers of lots of different skills and abilities. We're learning some details of events that you can expect from the PBA this year, the PWBA, which is coming back, and I should say next year, 2021, not this year. But among them, a couple tournaments that are near where I am, outside of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. The PWBA Twin Cities Open is coming back to Cedar Vale Lanes in Eagan, Minnesota from April 22nd to 24th. Friend of the program, Brent Prentice and his center. Congratulations to them for landing that tournament again. I think it's been there the last 2 or 3 years, so they'll be bringing that back. Also, the PBA US Open coming to the Ashwaubenon Bowling Alley in Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin from February 21st to 28th, tentatively. They did kind of throw in that caveat, but exciting to have bowling back, professional bowling, and we want to know who you are most excited to see in 2021. So if you have someone in mind, put their name in the chat window. Tell me why. We'll bring up the comments later on in the show. Or if you're a replay viewer, chime in. If you have comments or questions, we'll do our best for them and address them as we get them here on the YouTube channel. So let's get into our beer frame. We're very excited to have Dave Beres from Greenfield, Wisconsin on. He's a PBA member, all-around good guy. Really good to see you, Dave.
Good to see you too, Andy.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of these announcements, particularly the U.S. Open. As somebody with experience in the U.S. Open, how big a deal is that for Wisconsin to get it back?
Well, I think it's really big. I mean, it's been a while since we've had a tour stop in Wisconsin. Probably the last one was the Masters, maybe 5-6 years ago. That used to be in Milwaukee. So I think it's a really big deal. The U.S. Open obviously is the cream of the crop. It's invitation only, so you're getting the best of the best. Not even just getting the best collegiate players because of the way they do the invitations. So you're getting a little bit of everything, and it's exciting for Green Bay to have for sure.
Absolutely, invitation only, like you said. I think they said 108 players. Is there any chance that you get into that field?
I wouldn't get in on any standard qualifications. If there could be some qualifiers that I might bowl and then would possibly get in that way.
Okay. Another announcement this week had, I guess it's less than an announcement, more just a reminder that the Open Championships, the USBC Open Championships, are status quo as of right now at South Point in Vegas this spring. Is that something that you're planning on going back out to?
Yeah, definitely. Our dates would be, I think, the first weekend in May again. We booked those already. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes normally or back to normal a little bit, and we get to compete in that again.
Absolutely. The title of our live stream today is Off to See the Wizard. Now, when we were juniors, Dave and I bowled together, maybe more than a little bit, and none of us called him the Wizard back then. Then he starts getting on TV and in, newspaper articles, and they're starting to refer to him as the Wizard of Waukesha. So I got to know, is this something where you walk into a room and people say, oh my gosh, the Wizard is here? Or is this something that was kind of a surprise to you?
It was kind of a surprise to me. It actually came up. I don't know if you know Mike Jakubowski. He was the player I played for Extra Frame for the tour for a while. He's actually from like Muskego, Wisconsin. So he kind of came up with it. It was the first time I ever heard it, actually. He also does like the announcing. He did, I don't know if he still does, for like Marquette at the Bradley Center, now the Fiserv. And one night he had extra tickets and he gave them to me, and I came in there and he announced like the Wizard of Waukesha is in the professional bowlers in the house. And it was kind of cool over the loudspeaker. But yeah, he was the one who kind of came up with that Wizard of Waukesha title.
Yeah. All right. So in addition to bowling, you've been running this random classic summer league in New Berlin during the summers. Unfortunately, you decided to cancel that this year. The Madison Area Scratch Tour canceled earlier this month. It's really a different state of being for the game of bowling. What kind of COVID-related changes in leagues and tournaments have you seen out there?
Yeah, I mean, in Wisconsin, summer isn't really about bowling, so it affected my summer league. And I would say all summer leagues in the area. I think each center kind of is doing their own thing this fall. My league is a kind of a smaller league, anyways, but we chose to go with 2 on a lane instead of 3 on a lane. It's an individual league. We spread out a little bit more and use the whole house just to kind of keep a little bit more distancing. I've heard stories in the area of splitting the league in 2 and kind of doing a split shift. And I've heard some crazy stories where in some centers, like if it's a 5-man league, one team goes and bowls their whole frame and then comes back and sits down, and then the other team goes up and bowls their whole frame. So I've heard stories a little bit about those. So I think some places are trying to make accommodations. I think some places are just trying to, be a little bit more normal and just do the normal league format.
Sure. Has it been kind of a challenge just to return to league bowling, given what's going on with COVID out there?
I would say for me, like initially I did skip a couple tournaments that were late summer just because I wasn't comfortable with a ton of people being indoors. It was just kind of the personal choice I made at the time. And, as we get more towards winter and things like that, bowling season is going to pick up a little bit. There are quite a few tournaments scheduled. So I'm going to have to make that choice. And, I did bowl a tournament. I did bowl the Madison Scratch year end that they did run. They didn't really publicize it that much, but they did run it. We were all wearing masks spread out across the center. It was only 32 bowlers. So that was fairly comfortable. I mean, as comfortable as you're going to be with everything that's going on. So for me, it'll probably be to pick and choose, tournaments and centers that I'll feel comfortable in. Because I'm still going to want to bowl, and it's what I do. It just gets a little harder in the fall here with being forced indoors.
Sure, absolutely. So let's talk about your bowling story. Like I said, we bowled juniors together, but your story started a lot earlier than that, didn't it?
Yeah, I would say I really got into the sport. We had a big family outing at a center in Waukesha. It was Red Carpet Lanes. And after that family outing, I just really wanted to keep doing it. So my mom signed me up for a league and really started basically at like the age of 5 bowling. And that was before there were bumpers. So my mom tells me my average was like a 4.5. So I can't imagine that had to be pretty painful for her to watch a full game of me knocking down only 4 pins at that time. But so that's how it kind of started and just kind of kept going on from there on. I ended up being a junior coach at Red Carpet Lanes for a while I bowled, and just kind of continued on from there. And I would say, even in juniors, I wasn't the top dog. I think you remember Todd Filter, Ed Smeg, like those guys were really the top dog. I didn't really, catch my niche until maybe 19 or 20 towards the end of junior bowling.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we were all still technically juniors in our college years, and there were a bunch of us that were kind of pretty close. We'd have our moments, and then others would win. And at some point, you went like this, while I went like that. But what was it that Was it your practice? Was it something mental? What really kind of came together for you?
I would say at that point, all the practice and hard work, I was putting in a lot of hours practicing. I was working at like the center and would spend a lot of time on the lanes, either after work or before work. And just really, I think the experience of, because while I wasn't, doing great at the junior level, I did bowl the tournaments and get a ton of experience under my belt. And I think eventually all that, the practice, coaching from like Dale Traber and the likes of good Milwaukee bowlers, I think it just kind of all came together, maybe just a little later in juniors than other juniors, but just kind of all came together, like I said, probably around that 19, 20, 21-year-old.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of professionals say that they really kind of got to the next level in around that same time, but it was because they were on some kind of college team. Maybe they went to a Wichita or a Nebraska. You didn't have that experience. I guess, do you regret it?
Looking back on it, no, I wouldn't change anything that way. I do think, college these days is a little bit different, and the opportunities that the kids have and the tournaments, I think, are great. It's something that really wasn't that prominent when we were juniors back then. I made the decision not to go to school for bowling or, anything like that. The college coaching back then was a little bit more raw, I would say, because it was in the infancy phases of what it is today. And I actually saw some pretty good players from our area go to college, and seemed like they got worse as they went to college because coaches tried to put them in, you need to do this, or tried to make them, what I would say, cookie cutter bowlers. And that kind of turned me off as I saw that coming up. But obviously the first thing was going to school for education and other things, so not just bowling. But I chose to, just kind of still kept on doing what I was doing as many tournaments, leagues, and stuff like that, and gaining experience that way.
You also have the colleges like the ones I went to where there was no coach. So
right.
You kind of fend for yourself. Your juniors gives you this, the experience in competition. You're getting better and better. At some point you become professional. Tell me about that experience. What led up to that, and how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had some pretty good bowlers that were pretty good mentors. We talked about like Todd Filter and Dale Traber. They were kind of, Dale was obviously one of the top bowlers in the state of all time, probably. And Todd was a great junior bowler coming up, and they really pushed the regional program, because the regionals were a step to the national tour at that point, and a good way to get your feet wet while only, taking a couple days on the weekend. You could, still go to school, have a normal job, stuff like that, but still competing against really high class bowlers. So I as soon as I got out of juniors, I started in the regional program and traveled a lot with them. Jace Peterson was also a big influence, and just started doing those. And for me, I was lucky enough to be good enough that I could kind of like break even. It's as you're coming up and you're younger, money is an issue, and you're worried about entry fees, hotels, all the expenses that come along with doing those tournaments. And I was able to kind of hang in there, not really make a lot of money, but just kind of continue to gain experience, gain exposure, and just kind of tread water for like the first year or so.
Sure. You are a Brunswick guy. You've been a Brunswick guy for several years. How many years now? More than 6, right?
Probably about 10 years. I think it was about 2010 when I was fully signed with them.
Okay. What was it about Brunswick, I guess, back then and even now that, makes you want to stay with them?
Well, Brunswick's always had a great name in bowling. I mean, they've been around forever. And the couple of the reps that were around were really good guys, and I really got along with them and started throwing the equipment, and just found that it suits me very well. As bowlers, I think, if you're a good bowler or a great bowler, I mean, you're going to find stuff that works well for you in any company. But for me, it seems to match up. I'm able to keep up with, new stuff. It kind of gives me an edge because I know what the new stuff might do before you get it. And just kind of know where it fits in the line. If you're jumping around from company to company, I think it's a little bit harder predictability wise. And I'm more even keel. I like predictable. I like to know what's going to happen as much as possible. And the way they've treated me over the years has just been phenomenal. The year I was on tour, they treated me just like one of the big superstars. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. So as long as they'll have me, I'll be a Brunswick staffer.
Sure. Speaking from, one of those guys who is kind of on the outside looking in on that whole thing, what's it like to be a staffer for a particular company, and what's expected of you as you are on those staffs?
I think what's expected is really number one, professionalism. Making sure you're, as pros, we do a lot of pro-ams and things like that. So making sure you're kind of just being nice to people, talking up the brand. If people have questions, taking all those questions, answering them. So professionalism and then talking up, also like promoting, and then just, in some ways, have success with the equipment and promote that when you do it, just so that it's out there in front of the consumer. And if people are thinking about Brunswick, that that's in their head and they might make that choice.
I've always heard from people that the easiest way to get on a staff is just to win, right? Easy as that. Just win.
I mean, that's definitely part of it, but I think it's not just physical ability or skill, because I think if you do have those selling skills, let's face it, the companies want to sell bowling balls. They want to, help their company. So if you have a knack and they're good at promoting, they're going to look at you that way too, even though you might not be the best bowler in the area or something like that.
Sure. So as you're competing, you start doing well with in tournaments, in regionals, as you said, tournament teams. Have you always been on the same tournament team, or has that changed and evolved over the years?
That's evolved over the years. My first ever nationals I went to with Ed Smaglick and Gina Dereshevsky and just some guys from Classic Lanes Greenfield, which is a center in the area. And it's kind of evolved over time as you get better and people know who you are. You might get offers from other teams, things like that. But for the last, I'd say, 7, 8 years, the core of my team has been the same with Chad Moss, Chris Pearson. And then there's been a couple movements here and there. We had Dave Lubinsky and Ken Duffield as our current team, and it's been that way for a few years now.
Sure. All guys from the Milwaukee area. You guys had quite a run in 2014 at the Open Championships. We
did. Yeah. That was a great moment. We've had, between Chad, Chris, and I, we've had a lot of close calls. But to finally get it done is something we've worked very hard for.
Sure. And by getting it done, does that mean an eagle? Is it all events? Is it just the team?
The team all events eagle we won in Syracuse. So that was something that's was a really cool experience, and winning as a team is just better as well too. You got 4 guys to celebrate with and things like that. Yeah.
Do you, I guess, consider yourself a better team bowler or individual bowler, or kind of even par on both?
I think probably individually I'm a little bit better suited. I'm not like a huge rah-rah cheerleader guy. I think I do help on the input of lane play and ball selection and things like that, which is important in a team, but I'm not the huge cheerleader type. I'm more quiet and reserved. So, I guess it depends how you look at it. I try to help out where I can, but I would definitely say there's some guys that are a little bit better team guys than I am.
Sure. You have, speaking of individual competitions, you have been on at least one national telecast that I remember. What's it like to bowl on TV in front of all those people in the crowd, people on watching on TV across the country?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly nerve-wracking. Made the regional players championship show. I forget what year it was. I think it was 12 or 13. And they set it up in a arena. Basically, they just set a couple lanes up with some stands, and that's where the show was televised. They did multiple shows there for the World Series of Bowling, and it is a different experience with the lights and just everything. The everything speeds up. It feels like you bowled the game in like 2 minutes. I mean, everything just so fast. You really got to concentrate and slow down and just think about what you're doing. But I was definitely really nervous. I think I shot 201. Tom Doherty won the match, I think with like 213 or 220 or something like that. But it was a great experience and something I'll always remember.
Yeah, obviously it's different now with COVID. You don't have those fans in person there, but it almost seems like there's kind of more of a chance for these guys' personality to come out in recent years. Would you say it was any different then than it is now?
Well, I think definitely these days that their personality can come out a little bit more, and I would say it's encouraged by the PBA. Like they want the the energy, the excitement, the personalities to come out. And I think today with the shows they've done, and they couldn't have fans in the stands, they've had to leave the mics on and then kind of get more quick interviews of thoughts of what's going through the guy's mind. I think it has made for a little different and almost better telecast rather than the fans are nice and all, but I think from a player perspective, you get into their minds a little bit more now and get a little bit more out of them than maybe in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it about Wisconsin? It seems like Wisconsin is always producing, great players, be it on a national level professionally, in the USBC Open Championships, which we also often refer to as the national tournament. It always seems like there's a team, an individual, more than one from Wisconsin that's making noise, that's doing well in these high-level events. What do you think it is?
I think it's just the overall culture of Wisconsin. I mean, bowling's always been a big sport here in Wisconsin. Partially because the winters are, so bad that you got to be inside. But I think the older bowlers really passed down that kind of knowledge and passed on the passion for like the nationals tournament. When you think back to all the great bowlers, and I'm gonna only list a few, but there's many like Gary Dereshevsky, Dale Traber, Lenny Borsch. There's so much of that. They took it so seriously, and of course you got like guys in Madison Riggles. Like it was such a serious tournament, meant so much that they just kind of kept passing that on. So as a younger bowler, you wanted to aspire to that. You wanted to, do what they did, and I just think it just kind of trickled down over time. And there's always guys calling each other. What did you guys see at nationals? What did you guys do? What's the shot like? It's just part of the culture, and I just think that permeated throughout the bowling culture here in Wisconsin.
Sure. Nowadays, what does a typical week in bowling look like for you? You're in league? Are you practicing? How often during a typical week are you on the lanes?
In a normal winter season, I'm bowling one league. I only commit myself to one league and maybe sub somewhere else on a Friday night or something like that. And then I'm bowling as much on the weekend tournaments as I can. Which there's something going on in a normal non-pandemic world. There's normally something just about every weekend you can bowl if you want. So I don't practice per se as much as I did in my younger days. I just kind of stay sharp by just bowling league and bowling as much as I can tournament wise.
Sure. Looking through your USBC page, it looks like you're pretty steady around, mid to high 220s, low 230s. You've got plenty of honor scores to boot. Does it ever get, dull to bowl in league? Or is it as exciting as it was, back when we were juniors?
I enjoy it because the one main league that I bowl is a kind of a challenge league. So we have a different pattern every 5 or 6 weeks. So that keeps it fresh because you're always going to something new every 4 or 5 weeks. I enjoy the guys in our Wednesday league too, so I enjoy it. As far as like a normal house league, I think I would get bored because the challenge for a house league for me just it's not something exciting for me. If I was going to bowl something like that, it'd just be to hang out with the team or the friends that I would go with.
Sure. What about goals? Do you set goals for yourself nowadays? Is it bowling a certain score? Is it winning a certain tournament? What, I guess, fuels your fire right now?
These days, I would say just winning certain tournaments or trying to do as best as I can. I don't set any score goals or anything like that, but any tournament that I enter, I go in with the thought of, I can win this. Definitely, I would say over the years, definitely as I get older, my drive isn't as much as it was back when I was, in my 20s or 30s. There, I definitely had, wanted to win tournaments, wanted to, do well at the national level, things like that. All that's kind of tempered down now that, I'm young 40s, but I don't really set super goals these days.
Sure. When you do end up winning or bowling really well, do you find that at your level, is it more a physical thing? Is it more a mental thing? Is it a little of each?
I would say these days for me, it's more mental. Like I've learned a lot of tricks over time, and a lot of the tournaments I'm bowling now still have, there's kids half my age and a lot of younger kids coming up that I'm able to navigate either transition or ball changes, things like that. Because there's a lot of kids definitely out there these days that throw it better than I do. They have more of the modern game with speed and rev rate and things like that, but I'm still able to manage, game by game and getting through those tricky spots in order to, either make the cut or come out on top.
Sure. And you talk about guys with speed and rev rate. Bowling looks a lot different these days in those terms. You've got people throwing it with two hands. You've got a lot of high rev players. Does that make it tougher for, I guess, a more traditional bowler like you, like me, to get out there and compete and win?
I think it definitely does, depending upon the lane pattern. Like if the lane pattern breaks down and you have to play fourth, fifth, sixth arrow with loft and things like that, that's definitely not my A game. I'm more smooth up the lane, little hook. So as those lanes break down, it definitely does make it harder. It kind of goes right to that A game of speed, rev rate, maybe loft. So depending upon the lane pattern, yeah, it can definitely make it harder for me to keep up.
Sure. You've got a couple of tournaments coming up. The 5th annual Celebrity Charity Bowling event on November 7th. Are you a celebrity in that event?
I have been the last few years, but this year with COVID, that's a small center and it's just usually a packed environment. I chose not to at the time. I had to make a decision about a couple months ago. So I opted to back out this year, but it is a great event. It raises money for some good causes, and it leads into the Junior Hall of Fame tournament the next day, which is a great event where adults and celebrities / good bowlers get paired up with junior bowlers in a tournament to win scholarship money for the kids.
Okay. How about the Lacrosse Open on the 21st? It looks like you're signed up for that one.
Yeah, I am signed up. That's always a good tournament run by Nick Heileman. 2 different patterns, 1-day events, pays out pretty good. So I'll definitely be up there this year, barring any things with the pandemic that might cancel it or anything like that. But yeah, scheduled to bowl that weekend.
Sure. When we talk about, you being off the lanes, I mean, obviously there are times to compete. There are times to, keep your life in balance, keep your mind off of things. What do you do as far as, hobbies or anything else to kind of, I guess, keep your life in balance around, either the rigors or the fun of bowling?
Yeah. I would say definitely summer. Golf is my main hobby. I love playing golf. I love being outside. I love the game, all aspects of it. So in the summer, you definitely catch me on the golf course quite a bit. In the winter, generally just, watching football, other sports, things like that, and just hanging out with friends, in the area. I don't really love winter, even though I live in Wisconsin. I don't like the snow. or anything like that. So, maybe traveling somewhere in the winter, going on a vacation, something like that to get a clear head and just take a break from it all.
Sure. Do you see yourself, continuing to bowl 10, 20, 30 more years?
Yeah, I think for a while at least. It's hard to say now. I always said, like, when I didn't feel like I could really compete anymore, that I probably wouldn't want to do it. I never thought, like, things change as you get older. I couldn't see myself being, super old and just kind of dumping the ball down the middle of the lane and shooting for 100 each week for league. So I don't see that, but as you get older, things change, and you're just happy to be doing it. So, but right now I could say, like, my competitive fire would be too strong to want to just, like, be in that situation where I couldn't really compete.
That's how I do it, super old, dumping it down the hole. It's fun though, I'm trying to make this tradition on this show of going off the sheet with a challenge to another bowler to appear on this show. So I want you to think about that while we go to our foundation frame and see if we have any comments here. Let's see. Matt Duty says they put out the Wisconsin pattern. I wonder if he's alluding to the success of Wisconsin bowlers there.
Yeah, that's kind of a running joke at nationals, that because Wisconsin bowlers have done so well over the years that, they put out a Wisconsin pattern when Wisconsin bowlers show up on those pairs. It's kind of the running joke for people that bowl nationals.
Sure. I've talked to Matt about this show. I'm hoping he'll come on. He's expressed some interest, so maybe we'll see him on here. I guess the pre-show countdown didn't have music, the dirty, sexy pre-show music. Apparently it didn't work this time. Maybe next time. I kind of like that stuff. All right, so let's go off the sheet. Like I said, a tradition. I'm starting with this show to issue a challenge to another bowler to appear on this show and essentially call them out, because I'll do the same in a recorded version. But who do you think would be good to be on this show and talk about their bowling story?
I think you got to get Andy Mills on the show. That guy is pretty extravagant with his dress. He's always a funny guy to talk to. He's got lots of good stories. So I would definitely say Andy Mills.
It's funny because Sam, one of our guests from last week, said you got to get Hilly and Millie on this show. So
sure, yeah, Andy, both of them tag team. Yeah.
Andy, if you're watching, I know he's in the group. I invited him to the group. So if you're watching, fill out that application form, get on the show. Dave, it's been a pleasure. I haven't had the chance to talk with you in a while, and I really appreciate you being on this second episode. But let's keep in touch, and best of luck in your leagues and tournaments coming up here.
Will do. Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right. And again, if you want to be on this show, it's really easy. Just go to bit.ly/bowling with the Fef. We have an application form there, and you can fill it out and be a guest on this show. Again, it's not about a skill level. We cater to varying skill levels. It's all about passion for the game. Our next episode is coming up a week from today. That's next Thursday, November 5th. So that's a week from tonight. Again, and if you want to get alerted to when we're going to have live videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bowling with the Fef. That's where we are right now. Hit that notification bell. Join our Facebook group. You'll get plenty of advance notice. And if you're on the replay, shoot us a comment. Let us know what you think. And we hope to hear from you soon. Again, I'm Andrew Pfeffer. This is Bowling with the Fef. Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.